Hey, we're back. We're going to announce a couple winners. But first, since we have Dr. Nadia Azar in studio, hi, I'm Dan Shinder, Drum Talk TV. Let's talk about the extensive drummer injury study you did, which many of our fans participated in.
Yep.
Tell everyone first what you set out to do.
Sure.
And about the data collection and all that stuff.
Okay.
And then we'll get to the winners.
Yeah. So the goal of the study was to get some numbers, get some hard numbers on how prevalent or how common are playing-related injuries in drummers. So as I was doing some research to get started in this, I started noticing that there was very little out there specifically on drummers. There were some injury statistics on percussionists in general, but that usually lump drummers in with other types of percussion. And also, even the percussionists themselves, there's only maybe really one, maybe two larger scale studies that focused on percussionists and not them as part of a larger orchestral group. Okay. So I wanted to get some information that was specific to drummers, that incorporated more musical styles and playing styles and genres than just orchestral. And so this would sort of serve as a platform for me to figure out what additional studies need to be done to sort of start addressing some of the problems, because just in my conversations with drummers, I know that they're prevalent, that injuries are very prevalent.
Right.
And again, we're talking about playing related musculoskeletal disorders, like the kinds of things that develop over time as a repetitive strain issue.
Knocking yourself in the nose with a stick or something.
Right, exactly. And it had to be, I was very specific in my definition to make sure they understood it was playing related injuries. So not slipping and falling on a icy sidewalk or something like that, a car accident. It had to be related to playing the drums. So I designed a survey that I could send out online for drummers to respond to. And I had a few different places that offered to host it for me. You guys did as well. And that helped me get it out to almost all corners of the world. The responses that came in, I mentioned earlier, I had 865 people respond to the survey.
That's a lot.
Which was fantastic. The largest study that was done prior to this had 279, so I was hoping to get 300 just to be in the same ballpark. You way
overshot that.
So I ended up getting a lot more, which was fantastic, so thank you everyone.
If anyone's watching, thanks for participating in that. And I took the survey.
So and the results came in from all over the world, mostly North America, mainly Canada and the US. A lot came in from Europe. There were several from South America, from Asia, and even a few from Africa, which was really cool.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm just going to pull up my little notes here. So I can dive into the results then.
Please,
So out of the 865 responses that came in, 831 were usable. The other ones that weren't usable were ones that maybe didn't play enough hours per week. I had stipulated they had to play at least 5.
Right.
And so many people indicated that they didn't play that many. And didn't give any other indication that that was because they were currently hurt or they were retired. I did have some of those who did say, I don't play more than 5 hours, but it's because I'm retired. So I kept those in the study. Overwhelmingly, the sample of respondents were male. So 90% of the people who responded to the survey, 90% identified as male. So 10%, a little less than 10% identified as something other than male.
Ladies, we tried to get you involved in this.
And a lot of them did, but
females.
So that's just the way it shook out, but that's fine. Average age was about 40 years.
Really?
Yep.
Wow, I would have thought it'd be younger.
Yeah, no, 40 years.
Maybe because when I did the survey, it totally skewed the average. It made everyone older.
I'm trying to think now. I think the highest age that was reported in was, I think, in the late 60s or early 70s.
Oh, okay, so I'm a little.
And the youngest was 18, because that was another condition. You had to be 18.
Had to be 18.
Yeah.
Okay.
And on average, they had been playing the drums for about 26 years.
Oh.
Yeah. And I had lots of different occupational groups. The largest was the occasional drummers, which I defined as 25% or less of their annual income comes from something drumming related. But I did have from all the categories that I indicated. So I had full-time students, I had music teachers, I had full-time professional studio or performing drummers. I had a lot that were combinations, like students who teach or performers who teach or what have you. So the big question that I can now answer from this anyway is within that sample of 831 people, 68% reported a lifetime history of a drumming-related injury.
Wow,
So
that's a high percentage.
Yeah, and
I mean, did you expect any sort of number? Have any expectations?
Well, it's actually not that far off what that other big drumming study found. Theirs, I believe they were in the low 70s, 71 or 72% of the group that contained, they defined this group as membranophone drummers. So that included anything with a skin on top, basically. So 68% saying at some point during my life, I have sustained a drumming-related injury, which is substantial. 59% of the sample said I've had more than one drumming-related injury.
Wow.
Which is that I wasn't quite expecting.
How about, was there a category, I don't remember because it was a while ago, but for reoccurring, like would that be different? Because that's like a separate injury, like maybe my neck and my wrist.
Right.
Versus something that was reoccurring, maybe?
Yeah, so it was, the way I counted them was if they, for those of you who took the survey, if you remember there's a body chart where you can click on it to indicate where your injury was. So I just counted up all the different clicks of the different body regions and analyzed them that way. So someone who reported multiple injuries is someone who maybe said, I've had an elbow injury and a shoulder injury, or a neck issue and a knee issue, or something like that. Some had many.
Wow.
Yeah. So, so that was a big one. The most affected body region, maybe not surprisingly, it was the upper limb. So 59% of the sample reported an upper limb injury of some kind. So that's anywhere from the shoulder down. Within the upper limb, the most
including fingers, everything.
Including fingers,
right?
I separated out fingers from the hand, from the thumb, wrist, forearm, so it was completely broken up. So within the upper limb, the most commonly affected region was the wrist. So 25% of the sample had reported a wrist issue. In terms of other body regions, the back came up as well, not nearly as much as the upper limb. 33% of the group said they had sustained a back injury, and of the low back was the most commonly, it was actually the second most commonly reported anatomical location for an injury. So it was the wrist first, and then the low back was the second most.
And we talked about that a little bit last night, and I asked, is that because of poor ergonomics, because of their physiology, or is it bad posture? And I think you mentioned it could also be from lugging gear, but is that a drum-related injury or not? Because moving furniture wouldn't be.
No.
To me, drumming injury is actually from playing the drums, not from hauling this crap around.
Agreed. But I did count it as a drumming-related injury, although no, I didn't get into having people specify necessarily where it came from. But if that was the case, I would have counted that anyway, because it's
part of the job.
It's part of the job.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah.
And anybody who is a drummer knows it's a substantial job. Like you're the last one to finish breaking down, and you have the most stuff to haul, and it's very heavy. Yeah. So that I would count that as a drumming-related injury for that.
Interesting.
So I did ask about the diagnoses that people receive, because I wanted to know not just how many people had an injury or where it was, but what was the injury as well. Yeah. And only 42% of the sample actually got a diagnosis from a medical professional.
Oh.
Yeah, so a little less than half. So then for those that indicated they had received a diagnosis, I asked them to tell me what it was. And then I analyzed those responses, and the most common, there were sort of 5 main categories of diagnoses that came up. But within those, the most commonly reported injuries or commonly reported diagnoses were tendinitis.
Makes sense.
Don't know specifically where yet, but tendinitis in general. Let's see here. Oh, carpal tunnel syndrome.
Ah, okay. That makes sense too.
By far the 2 most commonly reported out of the people who did get a diagnosis.
And I have a question that came to me last night, but I wanted to save it for this. And I could have run it by you, but I always want things to be real and organic. That's why I don't use notes in interviews. None of our correspondents use notes, so I saved it for this.
Okay.
You mentioned that one of your daughters is playing drums.
Yes.
And that she has taken to playing open-handed.
Yes.
So that made me wonder, I don't remember from the survey. Did you ask if any of us played open-handed versus cross? You
I did. Yes.
Okay. And is there any correlation of the percentage of open-handed players having overall less injuries percentage-wise, or more injuries, or is there no correlation?
So that's the next steps. I'm still analyzing a lot of that data. I don't have a specific answer yet, but I do have some.
You hear that? We have the loudest doorbell in Arizona, and that's on another floor. That's upstairs. Seriously, sorry.
That's okay. So yeah, I did when I designed the survey. So I didn't just come up with all these questions myself. I sent it out to. I had a group of experts, including professional drummers, who looked over the questions that I had and helped me tweak them. And maybe, you should probably ask about this too. Things that I wouldn't know since I'm not myself a drummer. And so a lot of those questions came from that. And I did ask a whole bunch of questions about playing habits, characteristics. Do you warm up? Do you cool down? All kinds of, how do you play open-handed? Do you play with the right or the left?
I remember
all sorts of things. So I am still looking at it. So I can't give an answer on that just yet. But what I will say is also, this type of study will not let me say playing open-handed causes wrist injuries.
Right.
It's not
or
designed,
vice versa.
Or vice versa.
You can't say that anything causes it. You could just talk about the data that was collected, right?
Yes, that there seems that there is an association between the two. For example, if I did see an association between wrist injuries and playing open-handed, maybe someone got a wrist injury because they played cross-handed and then switched to open-handed before they did my study.
Right.
So it might not be that it's the technique that led to it, and I don't know that because of the type of study it is.
Yeah.
So what will come out of the analysis of all the different risk factors and protective factors is these associations that I can then take and design more studies to help me look at. Yes.
Awesome, that's great.
And to get more of a definitive answer, or start to go down that road of a more definitive answer, to be able to say, okay, yes, not only is there an association, but it does look like there's evidence that playing this way is helpful or harmful or what have you.
Yeah, that's interesting. And chime in if you're watching, even if you see this on the archive, but chime in now and tell us if you believe you've acquired any sort of injury from playing the drums or any other percussion instrument over and over. I'd like to see. Michael Schaff is watching. You'll meet Mike at the NAMM show.
Great.
Let's see. Hi from Japan. Toshihiko, hi. How are you? Cool. So let us know if you've had any injuries. To my recollection, I don't think I ever have. I was telling Dr. Nadia last night when I was 32-ish, I think, I bulged 2 discs in my back really badly, and I lived with severe discomfort and pain, severe pain, for 10 years. And the funny thing is the only time it didn't hurt is when I played the drums. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if that was a posture thing or the endorphins or just pushing it out, or because I drink so much alcohol before I play. Just kidding.
Did you do that today?
No, I did. It sounded like it. No, I didn't. I did not. So, the interesting thing to me about this study and the survey is, if we were all the same, if we were all, like when you see aliens in movies and stuff, they all look the same to us. Mm-hmm. And like all Californians, we all look the same, right? If we all look the same, we're the same height, same weight, same physiology, same setup, same style of play, same technique. To me, this is still like, wow, there's just so many parts to this. Mm-hmm. But then you factor in different techniques, different styles of play, different setups, which make a difference because of how we reach or if we don't reach. Physiology, age, health. I'm 55. I've never smoked cigarettes. I'm in pretty good shape, I think. I'm kind of small, though. I've shrunk over the years. I weigh 155, and I've lost a lot of muscle mass. I used to lift weights, work out a lot. I had a 17.5-inch neck. And one of my sons is 5'9" and 270. People look at him and go, huh? I used to be a little bigger, but he got that mainly from his mom's father's side. But my point is that then you factor in all those things, and I don't know how you figure any of this out, or if you're just making it up. And either way is fine with me.
Not making it up.
I know.
That I can promise.
But if we factor that stuff in, it's like, wow, there's really somehow still a lot to be learned from this, because someone could easily say, well, he's 5'7", 155 and 55 years old. I'm 24, 210 and 6'3". How can I relate to any of this? But that's all going to come to light as you do more and more of the work.
Yeah, and when we do the more physical studies, so I do have plans, and I have a couple students in my lab right now who are going to be helping out doing some of this. When we do start bringing actual participants into the lab and hooking them up to our equipment, then we have to make sure that we standardize things in certain ways to try to account as much as possible for that. It's not possible to account for all the variation in different humans, and that's just part of the nature of the type of research that we do. But that's why we need lots of participants to come and do this with us, so that the more we have, the more we can account. Yes, the more we can accommodate for the variance in different body types and statures and things like that.
So your husband's a drummer. Dory's a drummer.
Yes.
Do you? I know you. I think we talked about this. You were somewhat inspired by this because you're around a drummer and drumming all the time.
Yep.
You're a doctor of kinesiology.
Yep.
Do you look at him differently when he plays now? Are you seeing something different that you didn't see before, like putting on some other lenses? Like we talked about when you work with like Tim Alexander, Mike Mangini, Braun, Casey, you don't get to experience the concert the way you would when you're working and doing all this stuff that we've been doing, the same way as if you sat out in the audience. Is it kind of like that with Dory now, even though you don't have to hook him up, but even just seeing him play, are you noticing or thinking about different things? Or is it just like, what? Who cares? He's just playing the drums.
No, so let me first say, I'm not a doctor of kinesiology.
Oh,
just to be clear, I'm not a medical doctor.
Right.
I'm a PhD.
Yes.
And my PhD is actually in engineering, but I'm a professor in a kinesiology department.
Got it.
So just to be clear about that.
Yeah, leave it to a drummer to get all the language wrong.
No, that's okay. It's more simple to say it that way, but I need to be accurate about representing myself.
Sure.
So there's that. Do I look at drummers playing differently? Yes, I definitely do. When I don't remind myself to shut that part down and just enjoy the experience. But yes, I do find I'm always just looking at, and I don't have specific things I'm looking for necessarily, because I don't know yet what to look for, because I'm not that far enough down the road yet. But I do find that, if I'm watching and observing specific things, I am looking for, how upright are they sitting, or are they leaning, or I've seen a lot of drummers who play like this and are like bobbing their head, and I think, I don't know if that's good. But
you know what's funny? Oh, I wish I had it right here to show you. I have pictures in my office of me playing in the early 80s. So I was in 83, I was telling a story about my drums while you're upstairs because someone's asking about gear. And I was in a band called Opus One. We played all over LA and Hollywood and everything. So I was 20 in 1983, and my posture and my drum setup was totally different. It's the same kit with more drums, but the toms were way up high. I mean, everything was way up high. I sat higher, had a totally different posture than I do now. And the funny thing is going back to then, I'm probably more that size now than the in-between years, because I was really lean, extremely athletic. I was probably 145 pounds, but then, things change in life, and I gained weight for different reasons. Some of it muscle mass, some of it not. Some of it like up here in this area, some of it right there. Guys ever gain weight right there? You gotta work it off playing the drums. And so when you talk about posture, I think of that. And I look at these pictures and go, how the fuck did I play like that? I couldn't do it now. It would be so awkward.
Yeah.
And it's always interesting to see how different people set up, and sometimes their size factors into that, and sometimes it has nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Sometimes they're trying to emulate what someone else does for their setup, and it might not be the right setup for you. So I think I guess the one thing I could say that in terms of advice or whatever is that if you are noticing something that's not comfortable, you
Yeah.
need to change it right away.
Yeah.
You can't let it become a problem. And that's not specific to drumming. That's at work. That's at your desk.
Computer,
that's
driving.
Your computer, driving, whatever it is. But, you know, our bodies were not meant to stay in one specific position. It's meant to move, and it needs to change. So I've talked to drummers who say they adjust their drum throne every time they play, just to change things up so that their
Really?
back isn't getting stuck in one position.
That's
Maybe not
interesting.
substantially, but
Yeah.
they do change it so that they're changing it up. But if you are finding that, you know, it really sucks to reach for the ride that far away, it's hurting
Yeah.
my shoulder, then move it in closer, move it down.
Right. And it's funny how, like, you drummers, tell me if you can relate to this. You move something like half an inch, right? Up, down, towards you, away from you, this way, that. Half an inch, and it makes a huge difference. It's like, I laugh at myself. I mean, I've been playing 48 years, and I still laugh at myself when I move something like this much. And someone who doesn't play the drums, if they saw you do that, they'd be like, what? Is that like
So
some
what?
sort of
Yeah.
like idiosyncrasy with them, or ADD, or OCD, or whatever, you know? But it makes a difference.
Yeah.
The length of all this, plus the length of your sticks. I used to play with longer sticks that were, what were they? I don't remember what they were, but they were about that much longer than regular sticks, and they just felt more comfortable to me.
Yeah.
So every little bit matters. The tilt,
Yeah.
all that. But it's interesting that they would change the height of their throne. I changed mine, but not for that reason. I change it, I think, because sometimes I just, depending on when I play and the posture I'm holding at that time of day and whatever else I've done, I'll sit down and it just won't quite feel right. And it's hydraulic, so I could just lower it slightly and okay, and I don't do it consciously for the reasons you're saying some of the other drummers are, but maybe I should. Maybe we all should. I don't know.
Maybe. But that's his particular thing that he likes to do. It might not work for you. It might not be comfortable or whatever it is. But I mean, ultimately, your setup needs to be comfortable for you.
Yeah.
And the things that I can tell you about, you know, where to put things, it's all guidelines. Even, you know, types of equipment to use, like buy this product, buy that product. That product might be ergonomic for you, and it might be horrendous for me.
Yeah.
You have to try things and see what feels good and feels what feels comfortable. And just because it says ergonomic on the package does not mean that it actually is,
or
you
right
know,
for
or
you.
right for you, particularly.
Interesting. Cool. I want to see if we have any more comments before we announce winners. There's Dory. Dory, sorry that I didn't play. I ended up taking Suppers Ready out of the equation because there were too many just lulls. And if I cut all those out, it'd be like a 2-minute song. So I'll play for you another time, I promise. And next time you got to come out with Nadia, but I'll see you at the NAMM show. So, okay, we're going to do our big announcement. Unless there's anything else you want to say about the study.
I don't think so, just that I will eventually start posting these on my page as well.
Great, and we'll share it. You'll let me know when.
Yep.
We'll share it when you want to advance the study and get more people.
Yep.
We'll definitely promote it.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Sure. So, the winner for the calories for today, and I burned 633 calories, 3 calories more than yesterday, and I played 3 minutes longer. It's just so weird. The winner is, and where was he?
Nepal.
That's the one that was in Nepal?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now he knows who he is. So Raj Karnikar Ashish in Nepal won for the overall closest to my calorie burn. And you win my volume 1 of social media marketing for musicians that works, and it does work. You'll get this and a Soundbrenner Pulse, the vibrating metronome. So I sent you a friend request, connect with me, I'll ask for your address and all that stuff. And I'll throw in a Drum Talk TV shirt as well. I'll give you instructions on how to pick it out and I'll have it sent to you personally. And then for the overall calories per minute, I got it.
Yep.
For the overall 3 days, the Zeppelin set Tuesday, the Rush set yesterday, the epic progressive rock set today, overall winner in Scotland is Zarly McAlpine. Zarly, thank you. And Raj, thank you so much for participating. No one won the walkabout, which is okay because that gives me another excuse to have another contest. I'm playing this tonight at my wife's open mic, and I'm accompanying her. This is a great... great hand drum instrument. All right, so we're going to put this up for grabs. I got to think of a contest. Think of something. Okay. I just want to thank you, Darren. Yeah, that's cool. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, Raj, thank you for joining us. Andy, thank you for joining us. Let's see who else. If Zarly isn't watching, thanks, Dory. I'll make sure I get in touch with Zarly, or maybe he'll see this on the replay. So cool, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. The thing I'm doing with my wife when I play that, I don't know if it'll be live on Drum Talk TV or her page. You can check out her page, the Art of Njaoni. It's the Art of, and her first name is N-J-A, and her last name is spelled like one, but with a circumflex over the E. So it's the Art of Njaoni on Facebook. We might do it live, otherwise we'll record it. I might even have you record it on my tablet, and then we'll post it on her page. You can see the walkabout in action and hear my wife sing. I forget she sings because she's an artist in so many other areas, and then like, oh yeah, you sing. So when she said she wanted to do the particular song that we're doing, which I won't give away yet, I was like, wow, yeah, that sounds good. So thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you soon. Gilbert, thank you so much, our associate producer in Monterrey, Mexico, and my son Stephen Shinder for helping me compile most of the music for the whole 3 days. Thank you both. And Nadia, thank you so much for coming all the way from Canada and putting up with me for 3 days. You still got like more than half a day left, all of tonight and all of tomorrow morning driving into the airport.
Well, thank you very much for having me and for your help in promoting my research and my studies.
Absolutely.
And really appreciate it.
Awesome.
It's been fun.
Just been wonderful to have here. And thanks everybody for following what we do. We really, really appreciate it. If you're not familiar with the website, go there, poke around, drumtalktv.com. It's about to get a major facelift, but that'll probably take 3 months. So just poke around, plenty of interviews, documentaries, event coverage, all kinds of stuff, and you'll see other correspondents and not just me. All right, everybody, thank you. Oh, I almost tried to turn it off here, but I gotta go there. So in closing, Nadia, besides Dory and besides me, who's your favorite drummer?
Oh, I can't say that.
You can't say that? Are you afraid?
I've worked with too many to put that out there.
They would understand. I put it out there.
I've worked with. Yeah.
No, okay.
No, I'm not going to say.
She's not going to.
No.
But I'll tell Neil Peart that you said hi. All right. Thank you, everybody, so much.